Hey there, it's Squeaky. Thank you for tuning in to my very first ever Hangout with Me audio. This is a thank you to everyone who subscribed to me and everyone who followed me on Twitter, and we now have surpassed 100 people who are aware of my existence, which is astounding to say the least. On Twitter, I did a poll asking what you all wanted to see, and between the choices of singing, doing a live stream, sneak peeks to my future audios, and telling funny/embarrassing stories about my life, funny stories won out. Luckily for you, I've got a ton of those, as I am but a disaster human. On a side note, I had 2 votes for singing. I think I know who both of them are. I at least know who one of them is. I see you, and I appreciate you. Perhaps I'll roll out that wagon in due time. To begin the embarrassing and funny stories time, I will start with a series of tales from jobs that I've had in the past. And to start chronologically, that would be working at a fast food establishment where my very first boss ever called me a Nazi. Let's get to it, shall we? When I was 18, I worked at a fast food establishment that sold Royal hamburgers. If you know, you know. And I was the only team member of my age, race, and language comprehension. It was a predominantly Spanish-speaking team, and at this point, I barely knew how to say good morning in Spanish. So, there was one management lady who had a big problem with me. I don't know if it was an age, experience, race thing, whatever it was. She did not like me. If I ever asked to use the bathroom or go on break or someone needs to drop more fries, we need more burgers, she would look at me, give me a smirk, and say these exact words. If you want something, ask me in Spanish. So one day, we had this floating store manager, this English-speaking guy who came in once every few months or so, and he was there at the same time I was. So I asked him, hey dude, can I go on break? It's been 6 hours, I'm exhausted. He lets me go, no problem. I go to the cashier and order my lunch, and this cashier is happens to be a classmate of mine because I attended a local community college and I worked in the afternoons on the weekends. So I order my Whopper in full German, staring at this management lady dead on. Ich esse ein Whopper mit Käse und Kartoffeln. I want a Whopper with cheese and fries. So he gives me the number 1 order and gives me my cup. I go to the drink dispenser where she is standing behind because she's on her little couple-minute break, eating some fries, drinking coffee, whatever she's doing. And I whisper to her, if you want me to do something, ask me in German, because I know she can't fire me. She can't even complain about me today. She glares at me, takes a to-go bag, which is sitting on the, warming tray or something, brings it to the drive-thru window, and I hear her mumble, Nazi. I don't hear what she says otherwise, because it was in Spanish, but she wanted me to hear that part. That was fun. This brings me into the next story, which was the time I worked at a hotel. I was 20 to 21 in that time range. And it was the embassy suites of my state. Thus, we had a lot of overseas travelers and visitors. One woman was from Germany, very sweet old lady. And every time I saw her, I'd recognize her and I would say, guten Abend, Frau, last name, as politely as I could. And she found it so amazing that somebody there spoke German because nobody else she'd worked with before me could do that. And so every time she needed something and I was working, because I tended to work evenings, so check-in was 3 p.m., she would check in, go to her room, she'd come down and say, can I get a restaurant recommendation, or what's the best place for this style of food? I would tell her. I would try to say it in German if I could. If not, she didn't mind. I'd say it in English because she was speaking English. I was just trying to be polite and show her that I could communicate with her. And I think about that to this day. The only time I ever got to use my knowledge of foreign language in the workplace. It was great. Okay, so this is the last, work story, but it's also really good. When I was 19, I worked at a haunted attraction in my state. This particular park had they boast having 8 attractions, and 4 of them are outside, 4 of them are inside. I worked in one of the indoor ones. I was a part of the barn, and there were 8 people, 8 actors in my building of the barn. There's 3 separate buildings of this haunt. I was the very end of the first building. I was in the hangman's room, which is basically a scene that separates the people from me is like a curb, like a sidewalk curb. So if they were to step into my scene, try and get all handsy or trying to be brave, they'd probably fall and hurt themselves, so they didn't do that. And we told them, each scene for safety has a curb, do not walk into the scene. So, we had one group, led by this alpha dude, dude's 6 feet, jacked, built like a brick wall. I see him coming through the little holes that I could see in each haunt. And I can hear him boasting, oh, this ain't scary, this is nothing, I'm gonna sucker punch the first monster that tries to scare me, which is the biggest clue that they're actually scared. And he goes through the whole thing, totally fine. I'm in my haunt. I'm standing on a ledge, where this ledge I would have to jump down very quickly and then get into a lunge position to get in front of the person. So I did that. I got into position. I was ready to jump. I see him around the corner, dude, linebacker dude, comes over. And I jump down. I scream. I whip my little chain. I watch this 6-foot-tall man fall back into his wife, knocking both of them down. And then he pees himself. Best night of my life. Okay, on to the next story. Okay, so here is a story that is slightly embarrassing, but also pretty funny. At least now it is. I can laugh at it. When I was 13, I became obsessed with the Hunger Games, like a lot of people my age. And like some people, I had a big crush on Josh Hutcherson. So when I found out he'd be playing Peeta Mellark in the live-action movie, I was pretty hype. In the months leading up to the movie's release date, it was winter time, my mother and I were in the mall doing some Christmas shopping. And we went past Spencer's. Now, I would not go into a Spencer's at that age. Nowadays, it's a different story. But I'm walking past really quickly, hand over my eyes so I don't have to look at it, looking away, respectfully. My mom stops, and there is a, store clerk putting up a new display of blankets. The blankets being these, really thin throw blankets with prints of the movie. She found one that had a full body print of Peeta Mellark. And catches up to me, makes me look at it. And in top volume for everyone in the store to hear, everyone in the mall who's walking in front of the store, and the store clerk, says, "Look, kid, now you can sleep with Peeta." When I tell you, I booked it down the courtyard of the mall, to the point where she had to put the blanket back and then chase after me, while she's laughing the whole time. Little did my innocent 14-year-old self know that 10 years later, I would be a complete and utter weeb, who would be contemplating buying another body pillow. But oh no, I was so scandalized by hearing you can sleep with PETA at that age. I mean, who wouldn't be, right? Anyway, my mother is very proud of that to this day, and when I told her I was making this video, she reminded me of that story. So you're welcome. Well, I guess that's all the stories I have for right now. But if you guys like this kind of video, I can always make more. I've got a bunch more stories. And thank you once again for over 100 subscribers. By the time I'm releasing this video, it's at 113. Seriously, you guys are the best. Thank you so much.